Thanks for having me on today.
Hey, it's good to see you. Sherry Ennis was like, Ken, you've got to have Tori on your Instagram Live. And
I love it.
I'm like, dude, if she's a friend of yours, she's a friend of mine.
That's awesome. Sherry's great.
Yeah, so thanks for connecting with us today. Hey, take a couple minutes and tell people a little bit about who you are and what you're doing and kind of your background and kind of what's going on today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a women's empowerment speaker and mindset and confidence coach. I was a former Miss Missouri USA. I went on and competed at Miss USA 2018. So a couple years ago, it seems like just yesterday though. And yeah, now I turned that experience. It was an 8-year journey before I won and competed at Miss USA. And that experience I took and I used as a stepping stone. I didn't place when I went to Miss USA. Mm-hmm. And so I used it as a stepping stone and launched and created my company, Highlights and Heels. And that is where I'm now a women's empowerment speaker and mindset and confidence coach. So that's a brief little background of my journey, kind of where I came from. So
love it. Hey, let's talk a little bit to our audience because we got tons of ladies. Because awesome. Women get about 80% of the work done. Guys get about 20% of the work done.
Yeah.
So my background, I pastored for about 12 out of the past 25 years. And then the other half of that 25 years, I was a mortgage broker, and now I'm a real estate broker now in Georgia and Alabama. And if I'm right, about 80 or 90% of all of our great leaders in our church were women. In my mortgage company, both of my leads in 2 offices were both women. The people who really drive my real estate company, my coaching company, our Growth Stack Drive brand, they're all women. So talk to me real quick about some of the lessons. You're a women's empowerment speaker. Talk to me real quick about some of the lessons you've learned in competing, because you said it was years before you finally won. Talk to me about that message for women and some of the get those lessons into women's lives today.
Yeah, so just a little bit more background about pageantry of how I even created Highlights and Heels was I started competing in Miss Iowa. I'm originally from Iowa, moved to Missouri after college, but I competed twice in Iowa and placed as a semifinalist. And then I was just kind of doing it because I grew up playing sports and I was so competitive and I just had that, competitive juices in me. I'm like, I got to do something competitive once I got to college. And so I started pageantry. And little did I know what I was in for, like 2-a-days, chicken and broccoli, all this fun stuff that comes along with pageantry and a ton of training. And so I moved to Missouri after I graduated from the University of Iowa. And when I moved there, I finally had this like aha moment where I definitely wanted to do something like that had purpose and meaning behind it. And my sales position wasn't doing that for me. It wasn't fulfilling that aspect. And I was like, well, pageantry, like I could make a huge impact on people's lives if I continue to do pageantry and think of if I actually won. And I finally got serious. I hired so many coaches, 22 coaches in the past 10 years, might I add, which is absolutely mind-boggling when I narrowed that down and thought about it. But yeah, 22 coaches. And so yeah, I placed semifinalist again. And then the next year after that, competing in Miss Missouri, I was second runner-up. And then first runner-up the next year. And that year that I placed first runner-up was the like game changer for me, because that was the year I quit my sales position and I decided to move to Los Angeles temporarily and Airbnb hop. And I just wanted to step outside my comfort zone. And it was so far outside my comfort zone. I've traveled the whole country and in an RV. So I've been around many cultures, but it was still very far outside my comfort zone for a small town Iowa.
LA's its own game, especially coming from Iowa.
It is. It's a whole new ball game. Yeah. And so, yeah, I just stepped outside my comfort zone and pursued sports reporting and, did professional modeling when I was out there as well. And then I came back. I learned so much about myself that year when I stepped outside of my comfort zone. And I came back to Missouri after I lived in about 3 different Airbnbs out in LA and competed and won. And that year, I hired the best mindset coaches. And because I'd already competed 5 times prior to that. And I'd already had all the runway training, all the interview training, all of that stuff, to get my performance up. I had the best gowns, I had the best spray tan going on, hair and makeup. I did the whole thing. And then I was like, why am I not winning? And then the second that I focused on my mindset and my confidence and just narrowed in on that and stepped outside my comfort zone, that was the time that I won. And right there, it just like, it did something inside me where it was like, wow, like I want to be that coach. I want to be that mentor now for girls who have struggled, whether it doesn't have to be with pageantry,
Right.
but just with anything, there's so many doubts and comparison issues that come along with pageantry, because it's kind of an individual sport. I always compare it to sports because that's my background.
So what's your sport, Tori? What'd you play growing up? What was your favorite?
Basketball.
So you were a hooper.
I was a hooper. 3 points all day.
I love playing ball. I referee college basketball on the women's side. So
really?
I actually referee women's college basketball, and have been doing that for about 25 years. So I love the game. I still play from time to time. So talk to me real quick about, I love it when I get to interview people who are hoop heads, who like love the game and breathe the game. And so I still play at 51 years old. All the guys, all my buddies I play with are David Pollock from ESPN's College Game Days, a real good friend of mine. Davey's got a gym at his house. So we played there. My buddy Mark played at Duke. His brother played at Tech. So we all get together. So talk to me real quick about the comparisons between and some of the lessons you learned. Because what I heard you say just a minute ago was, I didn't place, or I didn't make it in the final contestants. Talk to me about the correlation between being an athlete and getting your butt kicked and coming back, and walking on that pageantry stage, and some of the lessons and how those were similar.
Yeah, there's so many similarities. It's crazy. It's almost scary how similar it really is. Pageantry is just a little bit more glamorous than basketball is. But I always have to give it to my faith and my family and my perseverance. Like, those are the 3 things in my life that I based everything off of. And when it came to sports, I've been very blessed with 2 parents that said, you're never giving up. And, if I didn't have that in my ear, like, when times got tough, they kept saying, you're not giving up, you're not quitting, let's go out to the gym, let's shoot some hoops at 6 a.m. before class starts, and we're going to be the best 3-point shooter. And it was always kind of like it's a team. And so my dad and my brother and I specifically, we went out to our gym and we shot hoops before school, literally at 6 a.m. until I had a 98%.
Older brother, younger brother?
Older. Yeah, 2 years older. So that kind of toughened me up a little bit too. I played with him and his buddies, and they never cut me any slack. They would stuff me every time I tried to shoot in front of them. Yep. And so, but that made me tough, and that made me realize, like, hey, you're not always going to win. And so, with basketball, there were times, you lose time and time again. I was definitely not the best one on the team by any means. My family and I traveled every summer in our RV around the country in July. And so a lot of times I missed a whole month, and a lot of times, a lot of June too, of training in the off season. But what really, got me to the level I was at basketball was that we would always make sure we would camp. My mom would always pick a campground that had a basketball hoop. And every single morning before we'd go, explore the city we were at, we would always go out there, my brother and I, and do our drills, do our killers, do our, number of shots we needed to do.
Yep.
And it was just making it work. It was like, we weren't there. And, we got a lot of crap for it from some of our teammates where it's like, hey, why are you starting this game when I was here all summer practicing? It's like, I was practicing. I was in different cities. I was on the road practicing. Right. Yeah. And so, it doesn't mean you always have to do the work in front of people. It's what you do on the back end that really, shows. And so that perseverance and my parents supporting us 100%, in sports and telling us we could do anything we want, just put in the work. And so that transitioned into pageantry where, I wasn't freaking giving up. Like, you could not tell me that I was going to lose. Like, you were not going to tell me that I was not going to be on the Miss USA stage someday, because I finally got that, when you have that competitive background and then you find the purpose and the why behind why you're actually competing, not just to win, it's to like help others, then, that's a crazy duo. And that's what, every one of us stepped on the Miss USA stage. That's from that background.
Yeah. Hey,
and you would be surprised how many people at Miss USA were actually athletes in high school. Most of them were.
What the competitive nature. And that's one thing I'd love for you to speak real quick. We started our whole Instagram live because a live event that we were doing in Atlanta with Davey and some other guys, we were doing a live event. It got kicked down the road. And I was like, how can we add value to people now? Like, what can we do? So we started Instagram live at noon, and we've had some phenomenal guests on like you that are just adding value to people. Talk to me about not winning, losing games. You said You said tons of training and I didn't place, or a couple words I wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about those letdowns or those moments where you didn't win and how those fueled you walking through this last 6 weeks, and maybe what they might have experienced due to this pandemic, how they can let that fuel them as well.
Yes. My favorite saying is every no is one step closer to your yes. And
On.
I live by that saying. I live by it. And when I get a no, I'm like, thank you, out of the way, onto my yes. I could get 10 no's after that. But every single one is just one step closer to your yes. And, you don't reach success without failing multiple times. And, it's not even failing or losing. You learn something every single time. And a big thing is, whether it's sports or pageantry or career, or even, through this pandemic, and going, into this next new normal that everybody's calling it, it's important to have extremely good habits. And that's what I preach about all the time. Is you'll see on my Instagram, almost every day I'll post a scripture. I write my gratitudes. I write my I am goal statements, as if, I write down goals that haven't happened yet, but I write them as if they already have. And so just getting these habits in place. And I think right now, as some states are starting to open up, it's really important to, take time and just look back at the habits that you've created during this time, good or bad. And, take those and use them as fuel. If they're bad, be like, all right, I'm done with the habit. Cut it off today. It doesn't need to be tomorrow. Cut it off today. Right. And then move forward. And I think just, saying, see you later to that, kind of like another no, like you're not coming into my life. That's not who I am. And I'm going on to my next yes. So just keeping the future outlook.
Yeah, talk to me about, because I've obviously, since we got connected a few weeks ago when Sherry told me about you, I've been, following you on Instagram and looking at your stuff. I love your, you've got your Bible open, you're reading scripture. You're talking about your gratitude time. Talk about, number one, why that's important to you. And number two, like, connect the dots and let our people know, like, exactly what does that look like for you? How much time are you doing that in the morning? Is it an everyday thing? Go ahead and share on that.
Yeah. So, I'm all about positivity, right? Like, that is my thing, everything positivity. But do I wake up some mornings that I'm not positive, or I feel a little bit, down or bored almost during this quarantine time, which I don't know how I could ever feel bored, because I have 900 million things going on for my business. But, you can sometimes wake up and just kind of be in that rut. And so that's where gratitude really comes in for me. And it centers me and it focuses on what's really, truly important in life. And so yeah, every single morning I wake up, I grab my coffee, I open my scriptures. I have 3 scripture books right now, devotionals. And then I have my journal, my gratitude book, and my I am statement book. So yeah, every single morning I spend about an hour to an hour and a half on it every single day.
Yeah. Talk to me about your gratitude book. Explain to me exactly what that looks like. How much time do you spend? What are you writing down? So our people at home know kind of, I tell people all the time, put cookies on the bottom shelf for me. So I need you to explain it where it's super easy for me.
Perfect. So there's a journal. It's actually by Rachel Hollis. And it has 5 gratitude slots on the top, and then there's 10 goal statement areas on the bottom of it. And you don't have to have the journal. You can just write on a piece of paper. But every single morning, I write down 5 different things that I'm grateful for. And what I focus on is even the smallest things. Like, it's not, something massive. Like, I'm grateful for my job. Something so broad.
What have you written down this week? What are some things you've written down this week?
So for instance, I've been staying with my parents a lot of the time during this quarantine. So I'm not, stuck by myself for buku months, in my apartment with everything closed. And so, when you're not used to living with your parents, there's certain times where you get a little bit like anxious, or like you do things differently than you did when you were growing up with them. And so I'm like, okay, this is silly to get anxious about it. So I write down, just like, I am grateful for my parents. Like, I am grateful for the time I get to spend with them. I even write down in the morning, like, I am grateful for coffee. Like, just the littlest things. Or I am grateful for this pen to be able to write. Or I'm grateful for the washer to wash my clothes. Like, literally, it sounds so ridiculous. But when you break things down and you realize that saying, like, the washer or the pen or the coffee or your parents, you become more patient with everything. And you also realize that when you walk by those things, or you do little things you appreciate it. Like, not everybody has the luxury of some of these things in life, you know, and some people are wanting right now, if you're one of those people and you're, you know, wanting to go see your family and you're wondering why I get, you know, anxious sometimes being around my parents when I'm older and not used to living
Right.
with them. Like, it's a blessing that I get to be around them right now. It's
Yeah.
a blessing, because there's some people that, you know, want to see their families and they can't.
Yeah.
So it just really, really puts life into perspective. And
I love what you said. I watched reading a post the other day, and you were just talking about gratitude and how it shifts your mindset, and literally every single day prepares you for. Because even to people ask me all the time, Ken, why are you so positive? Why are you always in a good mood?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, crap. Sometimes I ain't. Like,
right.
Sometimes I have to tell myself, hey, you're going to be in a good mood today. You're going to be in those disciplines of gratitude and quiet time. And I tell people all the time, you don't have to necessarily be a Christ follower or have that type of faith, but take time for you. Like, what does the time for you look like? And I appreciate you sharing that. One of the things you said earlier that I really, really liked, you talked about habits. You talked about 22 coaches in 10 years of doing pageantry. But then the next level of 22 coaches in 10 years before you won. And then you said, then I got serious and I hired the best. Talk about the need for people to have coaches in their lives.
It's huge. I literally can't tell you enough. It's so important, because you have to surround yourself with people who are at the next level than you, who've already been in your shoes before. I mean, a lot of my pageant coaches were former Miss USAs, and I hired them because they'd already been to Miss USA and they had actually won Miss USA, and that was my ultimate goal. And granted, that didn't happen, but it still prepped me for times after pageantry. But the importance of mentors and coaches is just, they guide you, they teach you. You don't have to do it alone. And we all have doubts. We all have questions, whether it's, you know, with your health, you want a health coach or a career coach, life coach, whatever it is. And just to have somebody that's the next step, or a few steps above you, or ahead of you, I shouldn't even say above you, but just ahead of you in the journey, is so, so important. Like, I would have never had my company right now if I didn't have that. If I didn't have all those coaches and those mentors throughout all the years. And I ended up hiring a Tony Robbins coach. And that was just the game changer, you know, before, like, during creating my company right at the beginning. And, you know, it was just, you know, all mindset, right? All mindset, all confidence. And it made me, as an entrepreneur, I always have a lot of things going on in my mind. You know, I want to implement so many different things. And so having a coach and having a mentor really helps you align your vision, so you're not so scatterbrained. So, you know, you have the right tools in order to get where you want to go quicker.
Yeah, it's focus. I share with my one-on-one clients, and even our group coaching, my Growth Stack Drive coaching group, 3 words. Actually, this is what we're talking about tonight. It's funny because you're talking and I'm like, does she have access to my Google Docs? Has she been reading my notes for tonight?
Maybe.
3 core values. 3 core values are focus, passion, and intentionality. Focus, passion, and intentionality. Like, those 3 words every single day are words that we live off of. Those are things that every single day I'm looking. Am I passionately attacking my day? Am I focused on where every minute goes? And am I intentional with everything that I say? What comes out of my mouth? How am I spending my time? How am I looking at my goals? I say this all the time to people. You said it. I write my goals down twice a day, every morning, every evening, and then anytime we have a setback. And I love what you said earlier about 22 coaches in 10 years. I got close, like I was close, and then I hired the best. Talk to me about not winning and the sense of I'm almost there. And I know you've been watching, I'm sure you've been watching Jordan's Last Dance. And
I haven't.
Oh my gosh, girl. Like,
I need to.
Like, so I grew up in Pontiac, Michigan. I was born in Detroit. I was a Pistons fan. I grew up 6 blocks from Silverdome. I hated Jordan. I was Isaiah Thomas was my favorite player. The Bad Boys Pistons, that was my team. And so I hated him. But I'm watching this series about Jordan, and I'm like, oh, but this guy wouldn't stop. Like, he would not be denied. Talk about being on the stage and not winning, and then getting close and then walking off. And you said this, I hired the best. Like, talk to me about that process in your mind and how you got there.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You know, losing sucks. It's hard. It stinks. I mean,
I don't let my kids beat me at anything.
No, and that's good. And they're going to be winners because of that, for sure. But yeah, when I placed first runner up, it was painful, like so painful. So I mean, I'm not gonna, play cool here, like, and say it was all fine and dandy. No, it was hard, but when you get a taste of winning, you don't want to quit. And so,
Yes.
What was your specific question though, Ken, about
When
winning
you
and hiring?
stepped off and you were first runner up, you said, I hired the best coaches I could hire. Like, I just didn't hire a coach. I said, who's going to help me get to, I don't want to be first runner up. I don't want to be in the final 3 or the final 4. I want to win. And then you hired the best coach. What changed in the thought process for you from just hiring a coach to hiring the best coach?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I had to analyze. So after every year that I didn't win, I had to reanalyze, who were my coaches, what level, like I had to look at their mindset because I really started diving deep into personal growth, like really deep into it. In personal development. I absolutely loved it. And so I had to look at my coach and say, okay, are they pushing me to win or are they just pushing me to like do well? And I don't want somebody who's going to, and I'm the same way as a coach now, like I'm not going to let my clients settle for second place.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're going to win if they're going to work with me. And I'm not going to be easy on them either because I wasn't played easy on. Like my coaches, they shot me straight.
Right.
They told me exactly what I need to do. And, I had to find coaches that were winners, that wanted to win and that wanted to go to the next level. And they wouldn't accept no for an answer. And that was my biggest thing is just reanalyzing who was in my circle as coaches. And then, saying, I love you as a friend. I love you as a coach. You've got me to this point, but like, it's time to step up and go to the next level. And that's what I take even now as an entrepreneur is, I've been talking a lot with Elena Cardone and the 10X team and everybody. And I will tell you one thing, like I hadn't even heard of Grant in 2019. Yeah. I started following him in 2020. And so like the whole 10X team has really taken my mindset even to the next level, which I didn't even think I could dream bigger, but I 10X'd it real quick in all my goals. And so, it's not just, it's in your growing process. You're going to continue to have to level up your coaches and mentors and find somebody that, not every coach is for you, like you have to find somebody who matches your intensity and your energy. And I just, I strive for the best.
One of the things I say a lot is get in rooms with people who think bigger than you.
Yes.
Get in rooms with people
huge.
Who think bigger than you. Brandon Dawson had Tim Grover on last night, who was Jordan's trainers, Kobe's trainer. I mean, world-class,
so
elite,
awesome.
The best. And that's what he talked about last night was, listen, if you want to be the best, you've got to get around the best. I didn't know who Grant was 6 months ago. Never heard of him in October. Literally never heard of him.
Crazy.
I went from seeing an Instagram ad to the next week I was on a webinar on Saturday to getting the mentorship 2 days later to 3 days later being in Miami at 10X boot camp to then watching my business grow 600%, becoming a Cardone licensee, scaling my real estate team, or scaling my real estate company to a team, starting my one-on-one coaching business, starting the Grow Stack Drive business that I have now. I've got 34 people in my online coaching group. Tonight's our second week to just literally watching all of this stuff. I mean, literally 10X.
Yeah.
So I love your comment of hired the best, and every no is one step closer to my
yes. Yes.
As we wrap up, we've got a couple minutes. Can we drill down on that a little bit? Every no is one step closer to my yes. Because a lot of us, even me, and I know you said this, Mingo, a lot of us, when we hear no, it can be a little deflating.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about where in the mindset part of you, what was the click for you where every no is just one step closer to my yes?
It goes back to my habits. It really does. I mean, you have to, it's fine. Like if you get a no and you're bummed out for a second, it's all right. Be bummed out for a second. That's fine. It's okay. We're human, but it's how you rebound and get back up. And, like I said, with Miss USA, I didn't place. And I worked for this goal for literally 8 years. I competed 6 times, but I trained for 8 years total and, spent thousands on thousands of dollars in coaches too. And so I was ready to win the dang thing. I mean, I went in there, I had the time of my life. It was so much fun, but I was there to win too. And I wasn't messing around. Like I'm a competitor, right? And I didn't even place. And so that stung for a second because it's like, wow, like not even place after putting that much time and that much effort, that much money into this dream. It was just baffling to me why I didn't even get top 15. I didn't have to win the whole thing. It was just, and so, but so I was pretty bummed for a little bit, for a few days. And then I was like, this is the best opportunity, like, to create my business. And so as long as you have that mindset, you just have to train yourself and practice every time that you get a no. You have to train yourself to say, all right, this is fine. This sucks. This is a bummer, but let's get back up. And you have to ask yourself every time, like, how can I use this as a stepping stone to my next success? And how can I break through this challenge? How can I break through this no and get on the other side and prosper from it instead of get set back?
I love it. Hey, how can people get in touch with you, Tori? Where are you at? What's the website address? Obviously here on Instagram's easy, but what's the easiest way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so Instagram is probably the easiest. The DMs at Miss Tori Kruse. And then my website is highlightsandheels.com, and that's highlights, the letter N, heels.com. And then shoot me an email, info@highlightsandheels.com. I'm happy, to talk to you guys. And any ladies listening, I actually host a free ladies networking event every single Tuesday night at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I'd be happy to talk to any of you, and I'm always here to help. So feel free to shoot me a message.
Tori, hey, thanks for adding a boatload of value today. I will walk away. Every no is one step closer to yes.
I love it.
I got tons of training. I didn't place. 22 coaches in 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I hired the best. Like, I had to hire the best to be able to achieve my dream. Hey, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for just adding a boatload of value to our Growth Stack Drive community. And I'm doing we've got some big things coming down horizons. We're doing a virtual summit in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Tim Story, Grant, Brandon Dawson, Garen Jones, Anthony Truck, some buddies of mine. I would absolutely love the next time we schedule one. We're going to do it once a month. I'd absolutely love to have you on that stage with us. That'd
awesome. I would love to. I'd be honored. Absolutely.
You would crush it. Well, listen, have a blessed day. Hey guys, again, thank you for being a part of today. If this has added value, which I know it has, click that little paper airplane logo on the bottom. Share this with your family and friends. And we will see you tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Tori, thank you, sweetheart. Have a blessed day, girl.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me on. It's great seeing you.
You're welcome. See you guys. Bye-bye.